Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. We really have a ton of crucial ground to cover together today. We're looking at the top 15 global news items shaping our world for June 11th, 2026. And look, this isn't just going to be a rapid-fire list of random events. It's a deep dive into the profound ripples of change echoing all across the planet right now, from high-stakes geopolitics down to highly specific local community actions. Let's get right into it. Okay, let's dive into this. How interconnected is our world today? Our journey in this explainer is going to trace this really incredible narrative arc. We're going to travel from the absolute macro, sweeping, undeniable forces affecting the entire globe, all the way down to the micro. We're talking about highly specific local decisions that are having absolutely staggering international ripple effects. To really wrap our heads around the scale of these macro forces, consider this single concept: trillions. That staggering figure represents the projected financial drain on the global economy from a freshly formed, unseasonably severe El Niño weather system. This isn't just your typical seasonal weather cycle. Leading climate scientists and major meteorological centers have put out a rare, unified warning. Researchers are projecting that these extreme weather patterns will trigger catastrophic agricultural damage and incredible infrastructure costs across the globe. This is a planetary shift with immense, universal financial stakes. It's literally going to affect every single continent. To help process all these interconnected events, here is our roadmap for today. First, global tensions and climate threats. Second, U.S. politics and civil friction. Third, economic moves and infrastructure. And finally, unconventional global interventions. All right, Section 1, global tensions and climate threats. Geopolitics and planetary shifts. Things are moving incredibly fast in the Middle East right now. During the ongoing 2026 Strait of Hormuz crisis, President Donald Trump abruptly halted what was going to be a heavily prepared third night of retaliatory U.S. airstrikes. So, what's the stated reason for this sudden pivot? According to the president, secret back-channel peace negotiations are actually progressing quite heavily, and he claims that an official executive deal with Tehran is currently close. But, on the flip side, the military posture tells a story of unyielding readiness. According to U.S. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, the deployment of American force was explicitly designed to eliminate Iranian tap-tap-tapping delay tactics. So, while diplomatic channels are reportedly moving forward, the Defense Department remains completely prepared to enforce U.S. terms and resume heavy bombings on key facilities if Tehran decides to stall the process. So the crucial takeaway here is this really precarious balance. You've got active, secret peace negotiations moving toward a potential executive deal, but they're operating directly alongside an aggressive military readiness to immediately launch heavy bombings. It's a highly delicate tightrope walk of careful diplomacy and strict military deterrence playing out on the global stage right now in the vital Strait of Hormuz. Now, let's see how this builds into our broader understanding of global threats. Remember those trillions of dollars we mentioned earlier? Well, here's exactly what is driving that number: the severe El Niño system. It's a powerful, extreme weather pattern projected to trigger catastrophic damage. Unlike geopolitical conflicts, this threat isn't contained by borders or negotiated by diplomats. This is a purely planetary shift, threatening the entire global agricultural supply chain and critical infrastructure, proving that, at the end of the day, nature remains the ultimate widespread force. Moving on to Section 2. U.S. politics and civil friction. Domestic shifts and policy clashes. First up here is a major shift in domestic security protocol. The U.S. has basically gone from active counterterrorism monitoring to an expired legal limbo. A massive domestic intelligence battle just peaked over on Capitol Hill. Congress has officially rejected a legislative extension of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, which is commonly known as FISA. Without this critical extension, the future of U.S. counterterrorism monitoring is currently operating in total legal uncertainty. It's forcing intelligence agencies to navigate a highly complex environment without their standard legislative frameworks in place. Now, what's really interesting here is how rapidly distinct domestic clashes are unfolding across completely different sectors and locations. Over in Canvas, the U.S. Department of Education just issued a strict 10-day ultimatum threatening to pull federal funding from 4 school districts over policies regarding transgender student-athletes. Meanwhile, out in the ocean, President Trump signed an executive proclamation opening historically protected marine monuments and ocean waters to commercial fishing. Halfway across the world, on an Albanian island, we're seeing intense public protests over a luxury resort resort bid by Ivanka Trump and Jared Kushner on protected coastal land. And back in Washington, D.C., security is heightened after park rangers discovered apparent anti-Trump graffiti etched directly into the grounds of the National Mall. It's just a wildly complex web of environmental, political, and social friction all happening at the exact same time. We also must cover a solemn update to a shocking domestic political tragedy from last summer. Federal prosecutors have finalized a plea deal with Vance Bolter. Bolter is going to plead guilty to posing as a police officer and fatally shooting former Minnesota House Speaker Emerita Melissa Hortman and her husband. In exchange for this guilty plea, the Justice Department has formally removed the death penalty from the table. All right, Section 3, Economic Moves and Infrastructure, Markets, Food, and Cross-Border Links. Let's zoom in on a highly specific number for a second, 26.3 cents. This is the exact per-liter fuel excise cut that Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese is signaling he might extend. Now, why is Australia taking this action? Because of that Middle East crisis we just covered in Section 1. Deep concerns over regional instability and volatile global energy markets are prompting leaders across the globe to step in and try to protect consumer lines from extreme cost spikes. A conflict in the Strait of Hormuz directly threatens everyday fuel prices in Sydney. It is the ultimate example of global interconnectedness. Over on the corporate finance front, we are witnessing a monumental milestone. Aerospace giant SpaceX is rapidly accelerating its internal restructuring. Financial data and market analysts indicate the company is tracking toward what is expected to be the largest initial public offering, or IPO, in the entire history of the global stock market. It's a seismic shift, a literal financial rocket launch that aims to shatter all existing records and redefine equity markets as we know them. And this brilliantly illustrates how nations are proactively trying to secure their own futures against global volatility. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney just unveiled a comprehensive multi-billion-dollar national food security strategy. A staggering $1 billion is dedicated to alternative food infrastructure hubs, specifically aimed at breaking up corporate grocery monopolies. Another $750 million is being poured directly into vertical farms and year-round greenhouse cultivation. It's an incredibly aggressive policy designed to independently secure domestic food lines, totally regardless of what happens globally. Let's briefly touch on a vital cross-border infrastructure update. The highly anticipated formal opening of the Gordie Howe International Bridge, which links Detroit, Michigan and Windsor, Ontario, has officially been delayed. Cross-border infrastructure teams are citing outstanding construction and structural issues that absolutely must be resolved before this critical international trade route can open to the public. Finally, Section 4, Unconventional Global Interventions, Surprising Solutions to Global Problems. In global health news, ask yourself this: how do you actually contain a highly infectious, spreading virus when there's severe community skepticism toward outside medical teams? While the World Health Organization has found a wonderfully unique, community-level solution in the Eastern Democratic Republic of the Congo, they're actively deploying local taxi drivers and motorcyclists to spread biosecurity awareness. By using trusted, everyday community members to communicate, they aim to combat that skepticism and directly protect the medical teams batting the Ebola outbreak. It's just a simple, brilliant logistical intervention. And speaking of fascinating logistical challenges, let's look at the upcoming expanded World Cup. With a record-breaking 48 nations preparing to compete across all of North America, how do you ensure consistent, safe playing fields in drastically different environments? The answer involves three main steps. First, the University of Tennessee utilizes its world-renowned, decades-long biomechanical turfgrass research program. Second, FIFA officials closely monitor this specific, highly localized program. And third, these scientific teams deploy the research to ensure safe, uniform, high-performance pitches across multiple, vastly different North American climate zones. It's a perfect example of highly specific, localized research completely solving a vast international logistical puzzle. Wow, okay, we have just unpacked an incredible breadth of information today. 15 major global headlines, ranging from planetary weather shifts and fragile Middle East diplomacy to deeply divided domestic intelligence, record-breaking corporate IPOs, delayed cross-border infrastructure, and local taxi drivers stepping up to fight infectious viruses. So, I want to leave you with this provocative thought. With all of these interconnected forces in motion, which of today's developing headlines will fundamentally shape tomorrow's history? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, stay intensely curious, and I'll catch you next time as we continue to break down the complex world around us.